Hi, and welcome back to Arno TV. I'm your lovable host Arno, coming back to you with another topical video. Now today's video is going to be kind of a follow-up to a video that I did recently on the government going to be imposing further lockdown restrictions on parts of northern England, which, as I mentioned, is an area where I live. Now the government today has told us what they're going to do. So what they've said is that there's going to be a three-tier system, sort of like a traffic light type system. Obviously we've been red, will be the areas where it's most at concern, I guess, where there's more higher infection rates than other areas, higher hospitalizations and things like that. They will be in the red area all the way down through to a green tier, which obviously is much less dangerous area, much lower rates of infection and lower hospitalizations. Now they've announced that Liverpool is the first area to go into the red tier, and what that's going to mean for them is there's going to be all the pubs and bars and restaurants are going to be told to close. All the gyms and leisure facilities, some leisure facilities are going to be told to close as well until further notice. I mean, obviously that's going to have a huge effect on people's livelihoods. There's going to be a lot of people out there working in the hospitality industry that are going to be really fearful if they'll have a job to go back to after all of this again. The knock-on effects around the hospitality industry that's been shut down, again, there's lots of knock-on effects there, isn't there? I mean, things like taxis and takeaways and all those kind of things are going to see reduced numbers. Also, I would expect that things like shops are probably going to see less people in them as well, because there'll be less people out and about. So again, going on from what I said the other day, it's looking like we're heading again towards a national lockdown. We're heading in that direction. It begs the question again, are these lockdowns actually working? Because it looks like we're moving into tougher restrictions. Now, I was reading an article in The Independent as all this news broke, to find out, what tier the area that I lived in fell under, and apparently I'm in the medium tier. So pretty much nothing's changed around here. We're still on effectively a local lockdown. Nothing much has changed for us, but we're still, as I mentioned the other day, have been in this situation for months now. So it's not looking good, people. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that I would like to see, as I mentioned in the previous video. I'd like to see our politicians and leaders that are basically putting these rules upon us. I'd like to see them acting a lot more responsibly, because time after time, again and again, and example after example, we've seen the leaders and rulers and politicians that put all these laws all over us not following them themselves. We've had Margaret Ferrier recently, the Scottish SNP Member of Parliament, that fell ill over a weekend, or started feeling ill over a weekend, to the point at least where she was concerned enough that she'd get herself a COVID test. And obviously when someone has a COVID test, they're supposed to self-isolate from that moment on until they get the result, either negative or positive. Well, she didn't do that. She thought and deemed it appropriate to not wait for the result, get on a public train, travel like over 300 miles or whatever it was, to London to attend the Houses of Parliament to go to a debate. Obviously attended that debate. Whilst actually, in Parliament attending this debate, she gets contacted and she's informed that she is actually tested positive for COVID-19. At that point, she then deems it appropriate to get back on a public train, travel all the way back up to Scotland, and only then inform her party that she's positive for COVID-19. So that's a blatantly broken the rules. She's had all sorts of calls to resign, and she's come out and said she's not going to resign. You know, it's not just her. I mean, there's other people as well. You know, Dominic Cummings, for example, who, after sort of testing positive for COVID-19, deemed it appropriate for himself to, you know, get in a car and travel. I think it was like over 200 miles up to Newcastle on the guise of that they needed to get childcare for him and his partner. You know, and it turned out that they had relatives close by in London that they could have asked. So, you know, that excuse has been blown out of the water. Did he lose his job, or did he face any you know, fines or anything like that? No. Actually, in actual fact, we have the government coming out in support of what he'd done and saying that he'd not broken the rules. And again, it's not just him, is it? I mean, we've had Donald Trump's refusal to wear masks, and him getting COVID-19 and miraculously getting over it in 7 days, and, you know, exposing lots of other people to it. You know, we've had Boris Johnson in the early part of all this, you know, bragging, shaking hands with people who tested positive for COVID-19 and then getting it himself, and, you know, close people around him like Chris Whitty and stuff getting COVID as well, and, you know, being away for a number of weeks at the height of this crisis. So time and time, you know, Jeremy Corbyn as well, another one, you know, disobeying the rule of six, out, you know, with more than 6 people at a restaurant or whatever. And, you know, it's time and time again from all political parties, all political persuasions and flavours of just blatantly breaking the rules. And we don't see any of these people being punished for the rules that they're setting over us that they're quite clearly not following. You know, I mean, if any of us broke the rules blatantly like that, we would be fined, and they'd make an example of us and they'd throw the book at us. And, you know, but, you know, these people, it doesn't apply to them. I mean, how is that fair? And what kind of example does that set? Because, you know, it's all very well our leaders, rulers, etc., acting a lot of the time like it's the public's fault that these COVID rates are going up, and shirking responsibility for their own part in this, when none of them are following the rules. It just stinks of hypocrisy. You know, I mean, for example, you know, you put restrictions on pubs and bars recently so that they could only open until 10 o'clock in the evening. So they're all turfing people out as it's the law by 10 o'clock in the evening, and then you're complaining that there's loads of people on the streets at 10 o'clock in the evening. Well, what did you expect? You're encouraging people to go out earlier, and then there's going to be massive groups of people 10 o'clock in the evening on the streets, all queuing for taxis, are all, you know, had alcohol and stuff, and more likely then to take a party back to someone's house where infection rates are spreading. So, you know, these things are just not being well thought out. We've got really bad examples set by our politicians and leaders to us, and, you know, there seems to be nobody taking a sensible and well thought out approach to all this. Because, I mean, as I mentioned in my video the other day, I mean, where are we heading? Are we heading into a world where, you know, everything that we like is that we can't do anymore? And, you know, I mean, surely that's not going to help anyone. So, please, you know, if you are going to impose all these rules on us, can I please ask you to follow the rules that you set as well, firstly? And, you know, if there are going to be further restrictions, let's talk about what help you're going to give people who fall under these rules, especially in those areas where they're severely under restrictions and people can't go to work. You know, because otherwise there's going to be a lot of people out there in a mess financially. So and that's not going to be good for anybody, is it? So let's you know, have a little bit more of a sensible approach to this, please, dear rulers and politicians and the people that are in charge. Please start following the rules that you set, because, you know, it's very, very hypocritical of you to disobey your own rules. I mean, in some cases, like Boris Johnson, didn't even know the rules that he'd set you know, when he was questioned about rules and regulations in the North East, where he was given a TV broadcast or TV interview or something. So, you know, it's just such mixed messages. It's hypocrisy by not doing what you're asking us to do, and it's shirking responsibility when you're blaming the public for ill-conceived and really not thought-out ideas, you know. So let's hope that this isn't going to last long, and I hope that there's not going to be further restrictions in my area, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you know, it's looking like it's going to, you know, gradually creep through the north of England, so I'm, you know, expecting at some point there's going to be further restrictions here, but hopefully for now it seems that we're still under the same sort of lockdown that we were prior to the weekend. I mean, one thing I will ask everybody to do, again, before I wrap this up, is, you know, in this time, try and be a bit more considerate to each other, because, you know, people at the bottom end of the scale giving each other a hard time is not helping matters in this kind of situation. So, you know, just try and treat other people with a little bit more consideration. You know, it might not seem like a lot maybe to you, but it might make a big difference to someone else, especially if they've been at home terrified and are literally scared every time they go out of the house. So, you know, just be considerate out there, people. So, you know, for now, you've been watching Arno TV with another topical video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please like the channel and subscribe to the channel, and if you've enjoyed these videos and you want to see more, it will help. So thanks for now, take care, stay rock and roll, and keep it real.